Did Sylvester Stallone throw a flower bowl at Arnold Schwarzenegger at the Golden Globe ceremony? Did they seriously hate each other to the point where they'd even mocked each other in their movies? Spoiler alert, yes.
If I have a war, you gotta become war.
And finally, how did Stallone and Schwarzenegger become great friends after their insane rivalry? Hi, I am Jeremy, and you're watching OSSA. So, how did it all start? The first meeting. The story of the big muscle hate begins with their very first meeting, the Golden Globe ceremony in 1977. It had to be one of the biggest nights of Stallone's life. Why, you ask? Well, the sports drama Rocky was nominated for 6 Golden Globes, including Stallone for Best Actor and Stallone for Best Screenplay. That's right, if you didn't already know, Stallone wrote Rocky himself. Just for some context, Sylvester was a nobody in Hollywood before Rocky came out. He was so poor that the Italian stallion even agreed to star in a low-budget skin flick.
It was either do that movie or rob someone because I was at the very end of my rope.
Stallone told Playboy in 1978.
Instead of doing something desperate, I worked 2 days for $200 and got myself out of the bus station.
So he was there at the Golden Globe ceremony, hanging out, talking to different people, and suddenly he met Arnold, as giant as a rock, with that crazy Austrian accent. Arnold greeted Sylvester with a, "Hi, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, new talent of the year." Of course, it made Stallone roll his eyes and ignore that as yet unknown, weird-looking man. However, that night, Schwarzenegger was also in the Golden Globe race. He was nominated for the prestigious category New Star of the Year for his role in the movie Stay Hungry. And he actually won a Golden Globe, while Sly didn't. According to Sly, Schwarzenegger gloated over him. Can you imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger laughing at Sylvester Stallone the whole evening each time the movie Rocky lost its nomination? Stallone just couldn't stand it. He took a huge bouquet of flowers and threw it right at Arnold. And that's how their long-term battle royale began. The hellish 80s. Though their feud lasted for decades, its most violent period was in the 80s. Stallone in that period starred not only in Rocky 2, 3, and 4, but also in some mind-blowingly explosive action movies like Rambo First Blood, Rambo 2 and 3, Cobra, and it seemed that he was at the very top of the game. But Schwarzenegger did even more super successful blockbusters, trying his hand at some very unexpected genres like sci-fi, fantasy, and comedy. At a Q&A session in London, he said that the Rambo franchise was his main motivator. "When I saw Rambo 2, I saw Sly with his claws off, and he looked totally ripped," Arnold said. "What the f*** is he doing in my department? In the Rocky movies, he was athletic and smooth, but he wasn't that ripped. If he thinks he's stepping into my territory, I'm stepping into his and outdoing him in the movies." So Arnold starred in Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, The Terminator, Predator, The Running Man, Red Heat, Total Recall, and dare we forget the massive comedy hit with Danny DeVito, Twins. All of these movies came out one by one, each after the other. There were even rumors that Schwarzenegger's film Commando was an attempt to copy Stallone's Rambo.
Rambo, and then he would do...
Commando.
Commando, yeah.
That, of course, drove Arnold mad. In the late 80s, they started to make fun of each other in their movies, and sometimes in a not-so-pleasant way. Talking about Schwarzenegger's Twins, let's mention a short episode from it. The one where Arnold's character is walking by a street and notices a Rambo poster. His reaction is priceless. Of course, Stallone couldn't simply ignore this scene, and just a year later, he responded in Tango and Cash. We're not gonna lie, it was quite the aggressive response. There was an episodic character in a movie that was meant to be Arnold's caricature. Sylvester meets him in a prison and beats him to a pulp. That scene was probably a gag reference to the rumors that Schwarzenegger had plastic surgery done on his jaw in the 80s. A bit later, in the same movie, this caricature character appears once again and gets his face smashed one more time. Stallone was obviously imagining himself punching Schwarzenegger at the time. That's kind of harsh, don't you think?
Even our DNA hated each other. Have you ever had that ever? Competition where you really had an arch enemy and that kind of brings out the best in you?
That's a good question. Have you ever? Write us in the comments if you have. Though, sometime later, Stallone admitted that he started to actually like the competition. Arnold would have a bigger gun, and Sly would shoot more people on screen. Arnold would get more muscles and burn off more fat, and Sly would find new, innovative on-screen killings. But by the end of the 80s, Stallone sort of fell behind in his race with Schwarzenegger. Arnold went into the sci-fi genre, and the movies were massive successes. No matter how hard Stallone tried to put up a tent in the sci-fi, he couldn't reach even half of Arnold's success there. He also kind of tried to copy Schwarzenegger's success in comedies, but that also didn't pan out, and here's why. Stallone's greatest career regrets. In one of Sylvester's recent interviews, he confessed that the biggest regret he had in his entire film career was a movie called Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Looking back to those days, Stallone can't figure out what made him decide to do it. He said dozens of times that he hates the movie. I was on drugs or someone put LSD in my toothpaste. I made some truly awful movies. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot was the worst. If you ever want someone to confess to murder, just make them sit through that film, he said. And here's a real gem of a quote from Stallone. He said, "This may be one of the worst films in the entire solar system, including alien productions we've never seen." Well, maybe that's a little rough. I'll admit I've never seen the movie, but I've talked to a lot of the crew here at OSSA who told me it was funny. Also, it's got Estelle Guetta from the Golden Girls in it. Can't be that bad. Anyway, Stallone doesn't mind making fun of himself, which shows he's got a good sense of humor. But yeah, it's definitely, let's call it an outlier for Stallone. So why did he take the role? The real reason why Stallone did it was due to, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Again, Stallone had heard a rumor that Schwarzenegger was dying to make this movie and that he would do anything to star in it. And that was like a ringing bell for Sly. He pulled some strings so that he could get the role and outrun his competitor. But, funnily enough, the rumor was spread by none other than Arnold himself. He never ever wanted to take part in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and he was 100% sure the movie would sink, and he was right. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot was a box office disaster. For some reason, people just weren't ready to see Stallone in a comedy role. At least this one. And the critics hated the film too. It has an 8% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Its IMDb rating is 4.3. The Washington Post called it the worst nightmare, and it probably wasn't fun to read a Los Angeles Times review that specifically said that Stallone was trying and failing to copy Schwarzenegger's comedy success in Kindergarten Cop. So in terms of their competition, surely Arnold had terminated Sylvester at this point, right? Well, not really. And it was Arnold's fault because 2 years after Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, Schwarzenegger did an even worse movie. Do you remember his other film with Danny DeVito? It was called Junior, the one where Arnold gets pregnant. That's right, there was a comedy in Schwarzenegger's career where he was a pregnant man. If you haven't watched it, just take a short look at this scene. It's more than enough for you to get the idea. The movie was as much a disaster as Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. It did horribly at the box office and had horrible critics' reviews. On IMDb, it's rated a 4.6. Seems like those movies made Arnold and Sly pretty even again, right? And what do you guys think? Do you agree that Stop or My Mom Will Shoot and Junior are as bad as they say? And if so, which one is worse? Let us know what you think in the comments. Anyway, it was maybe at this point of mutually assured destruction, maybe this breaking point where the actors decided to lay down their guns. Kind of. Beginning of a friendship. Arnold said in his big speech in New Delhi that he always had a competitive soul. It was just impossible for him to come to terms with the fact that anyone on Earth could be better than him. And it's the same with Stallone. Luckily enough, both action movie heroes were wise enough to stop the madness. After almost 15 years, but still. So what happened? Did they get bored of hating each other? It was only a matter of time. Both actors had gotten older, wiser, and more famous and successful, of course. The movie gags they planned on each other became more and more friendly. Do you remember the 1993 movie, Last Action Hero? There was a scene where Arnold's character sees a Terminator 2 poster with Stallone's face instead of his own, and he calls Stallone fantastic and says that his performance was the best ever.
No, it isn't possible.
What's not possible? He's fantastic. This is his best performance ever.
Aw, does that mean their feud came to an end? Yeah, pretty much so. Sylvester Stallone said that things were completely changed when Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected governor. Since then, he started inviting Stallone to events. But what if Schwarzenegger started his political career in order to outshine Stallone there too? What if now Sylvester Stallone started his own political career? Surely he would flourish. Actually, it's a bit surprising after all this competition with Schwarzenegger's election. Stallone could have started his own political career. But of course, I'm just kidding. Today, both actors just laugh about their competition. You can now see how much respect they have for each other. It's quite endearing. Just look at these photos where they were spotted together at Cannes. Or watch Arnold's video message where he makes fun of Sly, comparing testosterone levels using the size of their characters' knives. And then he wishes him good luck with the new Rambo movie.
But this is not a knife. Now this is a knife.
And finally, look at this picture taken from the hospital. Schwarzenegger posted it on the internet saying, after all the action, stunts, and physical abuse shooting The Expendables 2 and The Last Stand, it was time for a little tune-up on my shoulder. Back in the 80s, it was absolutely impossible to even imagine that Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger would star together in the same movie. But it's happened, and not just once, but 4 times. Yep, they did Escape Plan, Expendables 1, 2, and 3. So it seemed that friendship won the day, right? And a good thing too. Can you imagine the two of them going head to head? I certainly wouldn't want to be caught in the crossfire. The two really defined the action movie genre, and in no small part due to their competition with each other. But now I leave you with the ultimate question. If Sly and Arnold were to duke it out in a movie, who would win? Sly or Arnold? Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to our new channel, Awesome Movies. It's super film oriented and character oriented, so if you're a movie geek that wants to be enlightened with the latest film news, check it out.